welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about 5 things that make the Canon 100mm macro one of my favorite lenses. Alright, so first up is the focal length. And 100mm is pretty versatile for me. I use it for everything you see, from most of the B-roll on this channel to all the photos, or most of the photos at least, that I post everywhere else. I really like how that at 100mm you can get right up close to a subject without physically getting closer to it. But leading into my second point, with this lens specifically, you can still get really up close to things since it is a macro. And since this is a macro lens, you have a minimum focusing distance of 11.8 inches, and that's from the little mark on the body, not from the end of the lens, so you can get the lens closer than you think you can. And at that distance, you're gonna get a life-size 1:1 magnification, which means that the image projected by the lens onto your sensor is the exact same size as your actual subject. And as you focus farther away, the magnification ratio also decreases until it reaches 1:5. And just being able to combine the 100mm focal length with the ability to shoot macro, you get some pretty insane shots. It's almost like a microscope. Like, there have been times where I put my phone down for a shot and it looks pretty clean to my eye, but when I look at it through this lens, it honestly opens up a whole new world of dust and fingerprints that I couldn't even see. Especially when filming tech and smaller objects like 3D prints, this lens is great to help pick up and isolate those smaller features that I may want to point out in a video. Alright, so this lens has a maximum aperture of f2.8, and you probably won't always be shooting wide open, but it is nice to have the option available when you're in a low light situation, or just you want to isolate a really singular feature on something really small. I personally shoot a lot of f4 using this lens because I found it to be a good balance between the amount that I can get in focus and the amount of light I actually need to get a good exposure. But I do find that when I am opening all the way up at f2.8, I can still get really sharp images. I really like the autofocus on this lens. I find it pretty reliable and always pretty quick to find the subject that I'm looking for, which is really nice compared to the Laowa 100mm macro, which I actually tried before this, and it's less than half the price if you buy them brand new, but it's also a fully manual lens, so you don't get all the nice features like autofocus and stabilization. Also, one thing I really like about the Canon's autofocus is that you can actually lock it off to only look for a subject in a certain range using just a switch on the side, which is super helpful when I'm doing a bunch of macro shots back to back and I just have to move my subject in a slight rotation to get a different feature or a different angle. It just makes it a little bit easier. I don't have to worry about the camera just focusing across the room if it picks something up. And last up is stabilization, which is pretty much the main reason I went with the Canon 100mm macro over the Laowa. The Canon has hybrid image stabilization, which really helps compensate for shake and shift when you're shooting handheld, which is something I do a lot. So this is what the 100mm looks like shot handheld without stabilization, and this is that same shot with stabilization. And a fun fact about the stabilization in this lens is you can actually hear it when you have the lens and you kind of shake it and it's off your camera. I'm not sure if the mic will pick that up, but it is really fun to listen to. It's so interesting hearing the technology work. All right, so those are the top 5 things that make the Canon 100mm macro one of my favorite lenses to use. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like down below. And while you're down there, just go ahead and subscribe for more videos about tech, cameras, and making. Also, go ahead and comment down below your favorite lens and why. I'd love to check it out. Thank you for watching. Here's my series about what a camera sees versus what you see. And this is a video that YouTube thinks you're gonna like the best.